Hello and welcome to Races Without Borders International. My name is Soul and I'll be walking you through today's Constructors Championship event. We are on the circuit Marco Simoncelli Misano, the world-renowned circuit. For today's two races as our third round of the Constructors Championship with the GT4 cars. After first two rounds and four races, current championship leaders Radek Šula in the Mercedes, closely followed by Plate and Christopher Verstappen in Audi and Chevrolet respectively. And he joined us just with about 8 minutes left in this qualifying session. And it's our championship leader, Radek, on current provisional pole position with his teammates every day in the second place and Christopher Verstappen in third for the Chevrolet. Fourth place occupied by Wilk and fifth place by Clinch, who falls down now to P6 as Mr. Lacey in the Porsche goes up into the second place. Finalizing the top 10 is Barnet for Audi, Silva for Ginetta, Schaefer for Maserati, and Mad Al again for Ginetta. We are currently looking on James Lacey, one of the drivers for Porsche brand, which is not doing so well in the Constructors Championship, currently lying at the more bottom of the championship order with just Ginetta, McLaren and Maserati behind them, being a little bit far from Aston Martin. And speaking of our Constructors standings, which is the most important part of this championship, being it the Constructors Championship, it's currently Audi leading the way, 40 points ahead of Mercedes, followed by Chevrolet another 15 points behind. The rest of the Constructors table is Alpine, BMW, Aston Martin, the already mentioned Porsche, Ginetta, McLaren and Maserati. And after previous races, which saw Plate take out the win in race 1 at Zandvoort, and Radek Šula take the race win in the second race, we'll be looking at if someone can chase Radek Šula, or will he take his Constructors Championship lead to be even stronger, currently on 315 points compared to 273 of Plate and 262 of Christopher Verstappen. Christopher Verstappen being one of the drivers who has a penalty points deduction for penalties that have been applied, being 10 points, which could actually really help him in his chase. That would, if those 10 points weren't away, he would actually be just 1 point behind Plate. But there are still lots of races to go and lots of driving to be done. Meanwhile, on looking on Aaron every day, currently P8 in the championship standings, but P3 in the qualifying. On his hot lap, trying to chase down his teammate Radek Šula, but it won't be an easy feat. Radek has been showing a great pace throughout the entirety of this championship, being the lead Mercedes. 5 drivers. Meanwhile, also another Mercedes has jumped up into the top 10 of Szymon Kołtnik to jump on board with Phil Wardley, currently in P6 for Alpine. Phil did not have the best season so far, being in bottom half of the grid in currently P22. He's looking for a little bit of redemption and help this brand go up, as he is being held up by the BMW. That was a bit close for a qualifying session. Looks like Phil was on a qualifying lap, but the BMW driver did not spot him, and this is going to hamper his hot lap. Let's see if Phil is going to improve on this one, or will he try to go again for another lap. Remember, we have only 2 tire sets for the entire weekend, which means drivers will have to choose wisely if they want to go for another lap, or will they try to get their lap in late into the session, or just get it done and save the tires. Also important will be how they managed to tie during the next two races. I'm looking Samuel Kruger on the brisk of top 10, currently in P11, being the lead Audi driver, with his teammate Daniel Barnett closely behind in P13. Kruger through the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Let's see what he can do. And it jumps up into P5, splitting the Mercedes drivers of Koutnik and Aridey. Samuel being currently in P4 in the championship, being one of the drivers who's trying to chase down Shula. But it looks like Mercedes, no matter where it is just dominating. Jumping to the Mercedes driver Aaron Aridey out of the twisty section at the back of the circuit onto the start finish straight. He has some cars in front of him, being the Alpine and the Aston Martin. It might hamper him a little bit on his lap time as distraction. But he manages to go up into the third place. So we have Mercedes, Chevrolet, Mercedes, Porsche and Mercedes as our top 5. Meanwhile, we see people jumping up as Javier Eugeni in the Chevrolet also makes the jump into the top 10, dropping down Phil Warley. And what about Stepan Koutnik? Starting his qualifying lap for the SK Racing. And Stepan, same as some other drivers, did not have the best start to the season, currently in P18, being far behind his Mercedes teammates. Maybe this is the time when it turns around for his championship. Currently we can see here is at least a Jeff. His name is Jeff for Baguette Corsa Racing, currently Alpine in P14. You can see the Alpines closely together with Phil Warley, Jeff and Ariona all around the 2nd, 10th positions. But ahead of all of the Ginettas, the tiny cars being in the lower part of the circuit as Jeff wild across the curb, trying to correct the car at the end of his lap. Let's see. Just 2 corners to end of this qualifying lap. A little bit of slide through the final corner. Not gonna help his attack onto the positions. He stays in P14, just one more lap he can do, but this one is gonna be done as well, as his brand mate, who looked to be Phil Warley, just was in the way. And Jeff, he will be angry about that if he was trying to go for another lap. But I'm looking the tiny Ginetta of Fernando Silva, currently in 22nd place in the mid-pack. Fernando managing quite races for himself, no penalty points that have been awarded to his name. Let's see what he can do rounding up the final few corners as the checkered flag waves on the qualifying session. Out of the final corner, followed by his compatriot in the Ginetta, Silva drops up or jumps up into P18. Yes, at the top of the standings we can see Samuel Kruger has jumped up into 3rd place, dislodging Aaron Aridey. So we are on looking at the final drivers, one of them being James Lacey in the Porsche. As we see the Mercedes ahead of him, that looks to be maybe Stepan Koutnik or probably Aaron Aridey, as James Lacey goes into 2nd place on 1:43.6. As that was Aaron Ariday spinning out of the final corner, and now just Stepan Koutnik, one of the few drivers that still have a lap remaining. What can he do? Can he beat his brandmate Radek Šula as well? Just a little bit more ambition over adhesion from Koutnik as he just drops the lap and smashes into the wall. And that will solidify him in P6 unless Varley or Sjöblom have something to say about it. It does not look like Phil Varley has managed to jump up any higher, as we have just final car on the track, which is the number 97. And that's it for the qualifying. So it's Radek Šula, just 2 tenths ahead of Jack Lacey and Christopher Verstappen being the top 3. As for the rest of the grid, it's Kruger in P4, Ariday in P5, Koutnik in P6, Plate in P7, Bane in P8, Schaefer P9, and Phil Varley rounding up our top 10 for the start of the next race. The race 1 at Misano. The cars are slowly lining up to the start of this race. Into the grid formation, getting your final setup changes and figuring out about the strategy. Are you going to put on a new set of tires in the pit stop? Are you going to just fuel a little bit and put on another set for the second race? That is interesting decisions for the drivers. Then we will be looking for who will be the driver to gain most positions, as we saw in the last race. Tom Weaver in race 1 managed to climb 13 positions from his starting, and Alexander Wich and Kasper Nielsen both again 13 positions in race 2. So the qualifying position might not be a big matter for how you finish the race. Remember, it's just top 3 drivers scoring points for each brand, but all of your finishes are necessary because all of the points that are being deducted from your points tally are also deducted from the overall team tally, so everyone will be needed. Cars are starting to roll. For the race 1 at Misano. Into the formation they go. Lights are still on as we await the start. And the cars are moving as we go racing at Misano. Looks like a good start from our leader, but look at Christopher Verstappen already down the middle of both cars. Managing to get himself up into second position, Radek Šula keeping his lead. But it's Samuel Kruger who has to be fighting Aaron Ariday for his position. Eriday on the inside now, trying to take the third place away from Jack Lacey. But Lacey trying to hang on around the outside of the Mercedes driver, but looks like Eriday will have enough of a ground to get past him. If you're on looking down from a leader, it looks like Eriday did not have the best run onto the straight. This will give Lacey that opportunity to maybe look down the inside. So you can see him at the inside of Aaron Eriday, and he gets past. There is also contact from Samuel Kruger onto Aaron Eriday, pushing the Mercedes driver a little bit wide, gaining a position from that as we are looking on our leaders. So you can see this is also Szymon Kołtnik on the outside of Emo Plate, managing to stay ahead of the Mercedes. And meanwhile, Eriday has sorted himself together with Samuel Kruger. We have another Audi, Daniel Barnett on looking on to the Mercedes of Kołtnik, trying to get closer and get by to engage the formation. Meanwhile, we can see Martin Schäfer and Evgeny in the background of this German wall that we have. You can see Schäfer currently behind Emil Sjöblom, P16. Swedish driver Emil Sjöblom, currently the highest BMW driver. Finished our first lap, 48 minutes still to go, so plenty of time for the drivers to find their feet. Maybe get a little bit higher. We see a little bit of mistake from Bennett in the Gineka, and a little bit wide in turn 2, but nothing to be gained from the drivers behind him. Jump back to Stepan Kołtnik, being harassed by Daniel Barnett in the Audi behind him. The red Audi being bigger in the rear view of the Mercedes driver. But Mercedes has enough of ground, so he managed to just stay ahead of Barnett. But Kołtnik will be looking onwards to Emo Plate, trying to get past, but we have a fight behind. Martin Schäfer trying to fend off Javier Evgeny. Also, Phil Warley in the Alpine. You can see Evgeny trying to take a look down the inside, but we are not going to try and hide these corners, which is too dangerous for this early in any race. A bit of tighter line from the Chevrolet driver, losing him just a little bit. Under pressure from back behind, back of moves behind each other, looking for the mistake from one another. You'll have to think about your moves really carefully, just so you are not in the position where you keep losing time positions one by one. Damian Wild being under attack, but attack more like defense from Fernando Silva, trying to keep his position from Ariona. They are going side by side for the first few corners. Ariona on the inside for the next taking zone. As you almost go 3 wide in the background between the Audi Chevrolet and Ginetta. It's almost contact between the Chevrolet of Tarantino and Chevrolet of what looked to be Kai Banks. You see double formation of 2x2. You see Algeria pushing past Ariana on the outside, the left-hander. He'll be able to stick the move, and this will give Ariana the better line. On the acceleration, currently Ariana is ahead, but into the next corner. Algeria might have the better line for the braking zone. They are looking from Kai Banks, trying to take advantage of the gap that was there created by his grandmate, and he gets by little Alpine. We jump off from the fight on looking to Emo Plate, chasing down Kołtnik. And I think there was a pass. Yeah, Emo Plate has lost the position to Kołtnik. We were looking for that move. Kołtnik showing that the Mercedes is a strong car by the Audi driver. But looks like the other Mercedes of Aaron Ariday will have to be looking behind him because there are troubles looming behind in the form of the Audi of Samuel Kruger. As we go through the first few corners, there's Enos Sieblum trying to get past Damien Wilk. Oh, there is a contact! Sieblum has been hit by a jet light tap on the rear end by the Alpine driver. As Sieblum takes a little bit of creative line for his troubles, but it's immediately being dived down by what looks to be Mad Al. If I'm correct, that was a really opportunistic move by the Alpine, who is losing the traction on the outside of the corner on the exit. This gives an opportunity to Sieblum to get past as Mad Al holds his position down the inside. Let's see if Sieblum can get better run, but the radius of the corner does not help him at all to gain anything, and Mad Al keeps his position. There is a little bit of a look from Enos Sieblum down the inside, but no whale. They are looking on Aaron Ariday being hurled by Samuel Kruger through the right hand at the back of the circuit. 8 seconds of the corners will be breaking in at the same time, requiring maximum precision. And this is the view Aaron Ariday probably going to have for the most of the lap, just looking behind on what is the Audi trying to do. He's going to deter from his speed as more than looking forward and trying to go fast. He's going to look back and trying to make a defense. It's exactly what he wants as the driver behind. He wants the driver ahead to just be worried about you, to be thinking about you and not thinking about what is in front of him. I lead to a small mistake, which is something that can help you, but Samuel Kruger does not have a bed made of roses for now. If you look at Radek Shula pulling away from Christopher Streppen, current championship leader, showing us why he is in the championship lead. Slowly pulling away from the grid together with Verstappen, although Shula does not have easy time. Verstappen does not look to be in a position where he can attack currently, but he is there in the back of the mind of Shula, but I'm sure he will just be able to keep doing what he's doing, just keep doing the lap times. If he does this, Christopher Streppen would need lots of speed coming from him to be able to get past the Mercedes driver. Let's go for one onboard lap of Radek Shula and see what he does so we can learn a little bit from him. I hope you enjoyed the sound of that Mercedes and enjoyed the looks of the driving from Schula. Just calm, committed, without any oversteer, any interference, smooth laps. That's exactly what you wanna do. But talking about smooth, Simon Bennett will want to make a smooth operation on the Aston Martin of clinch ahead of him. GT3 driver looking to have a little bit more speed as he goes a bit sideways on the exit of the first few corners. Which might hamper any chance of mounting a fight towards clinch ahead of him. But he also has Clinch's teammate Daniel Will behind one of the Aston Martin drivers. As we see fights ahead of us, it looks to be Szymon Kołtnik and Samuel Kruger. The fight that we are looking for to finalize itself out. And it is Kołtnik down the inside of Samuel Kruger. So Kruger tries to go back down the inside into the fast exit. As there is a little bit of contact between both of them. It will be something race control will have to take a look at. It looked like both of them were trying to go for one space of road. There was a little touch again between both of them, and then the other one. These two are playing like it's for the championship on the final lap. But Kruger defending his position really strongly, not wanting to let the Mercedes driver pass, as if there weren't enough of Mercedes in the lead already. It was a hard defense from Samuel Kruger. I think Kołtnik will not probably be too happy about. But Kołtnik will have to just think about it again when it gets really close down on the braking. Kołtnik will have to just pick himself up, back again and try one more time. But this time he has both Audi drivers of Emma Plate and Daniel Barnett closely behind him, so if he does make any move, it will have to be decisive, not to find himself being in the wrong position. And ooh, that's a unit out of control from Fernando Silva, trying to get past Tarantino in the Audi into the double right-hander. And that cost him a position to Algeria, and Silva, who looked a little bit was completely out of control, just jumping over the curbs. Luckily he did not hit anyone. You see Javier Eugenia and Phil Warley, we saw them fighting Marky Schaefer at the start of the race, but looks like they've both fallen down a little bit, and now Warley is in the slipstream of the Chevrolet, trying to mount any kind of a fight onto Eugenia. But the Alpine does not seem to have the power to chase the Chevrolet all through the corner. Warley managed to close down really big time and has the inside line into the hairpin. But now Warley will have the inside for next two corners as Warley again. Warley just drives around the outside of Eugenie in the few final sections. A beautiful move by the Alpine driver. He will set his sights now to the Maserati of Martin Schaefer, the sole Maserati in the top 10. His nearest teammate being Gianni Lenz, back in 23rd position. So it is just Schaefer flying the flag of the Italian manufacturer. You see Phil Warley being led by his bandmate. So he's making the life a little bit harder for everyone else. A little bit of team tactics, trying to help your team while you try to not help the others. Oh, it was really close between the Alpine and Ginetta on the inside. Something you are not happy to see as a racing driver when lapping someone sticking to the inside line. Meanwhile, no news from the front of the pack. She was still about 2 seconds away from Christoph Verstappen, and both of them just running away from the grid. Just look at the gap that is between them. So you look from the front of the Chevrolet of Christopher Streppen. You'll probably know the back of that Mercedes really well by now. Studying the lines of Radek, trying to get closer to him, but they are so closely matched on pace, it will take something extraordinary from each of them. Maybe a little bit of strategy, maybe sometime there will be to gain in the pits. As you jump back to Simon Bennett, was trying to get by Aston Martin of Clinch, and he finally managed to do so in the final few corners. Bennett getting himself up into 12th position. Simon did not have the best start to the season, currently at 26th, so deep in the Constructors Championship. This looks like a good haul of points for the Ginetta driver, although it goes a little bit wide, but the line might help him to get a good run onto the back, onto the straight. And Aston Martin close behind him in the slipstream, but defends down the inside. As Alexander Clinch goes around the outside on the braking, tries to hang it around the Ginetta, but the radius of the corner does not help him. Maybe a switchback. But he did not manage to get the power down on the exit of the corner. And oh, that is another good spin from Clinch as he covers the back of the Ginetta and sends Simon Bennett into a small slide. That works for Damien Wilk as he gets by both of them, but Bennett won't be happy about the driving standards from his rival. But Alexander knew what was done. He saw that it was his mistake, kindly waited and did not gain any position from that. But speaking about gaining positions, Emil Sjöblom, currently in P19, being behind Kai Banks and having Matt Al behind him still, is looking like he wants to gain positions on the Chevrolet driver. We see Kai Banks diving into the pit lane as the pit window is open. 15 minutes for drivers to make their mandatory pit stop. We see also Ginetta of Federico Silva in the pit lane. Now Emil Sjöblom will try to get easy in laps as good as possible to go by the Chevrolet. Now is the time when you can make positions. Meanwhile, jumping to Kevin Shepard down in 22nd place amidst all of the fighting that is going on in the mid pack. Gianni Lenz ahead of him in the Maserati, being chased by Simon Tribec, the tiny highlight yellow Ginetta. So you see Shepard a little bit wide, having a worse line onto the big straight. Ginetta is in the slipstream, but does not seem to be in overtaking opportunity. But Shepard having a little bit better line. Still a little bit far. Maybe he can dive down the inside or scare Kevin Shepard a little bit. This Simon Tribec trying a little bit different line. But now, for now, just sticking in the slipstream of Shepard into the fast right-handers complex. You might be looking at the dive into the hairpin. You see, oh, there is a little bit of contact between both of them. Shepard goes into a slide and Tribec goes wide as he loses a little bit of time. Now we'll have to just compose himself and try to chase again, as you see more and more people in the pit lane. Meanwhile here, invisible James Lacey, currently the lead Porsche driver in the championship by quite a margin in P8. Meanwhile his closest teammate is in P22, so James Lacey will need lots of help from his teammates. But P3 ahead of Aaron Everyday and Samuel Kruger, but it's a long way behind both leaders who have just checked out in a league of their own. Well, Simon Bennett is seen chasing the bright yellow Chevrolet Camaro ahead of him, looking to be Claudio Algeria. It looks to be Emil Sieblom has lost a little bit of... Oh, he's in the Ginetta sandwich, trying to shake off Mad Allen close to Simon Benet. Simon closely behind the Chevrolet, looking for an opportunity to get by his rival. He looks to have a little bit more speed as Verstappen is in the pit lane, and so does Simon Benet go in. But this will be important for Verstappen. If he can get by Radek Šula in the pit cycle, can he have a better pit lane entry or exit? Yes, there is time to be gained, but there is a lot of time to be lost in the pit lane. Let's see when he comes out. If he gets out of the pit lane in clear air, he might be able to do fast laps, while Radek Šula might be in traffic. As we see some cars behind him that were already lapped, this might mean that Radek Šula has had to confront some traffic that maybe Verstappen did not have to. Let's follow Verstappen around the track and see if he can close the gap to Radek Šula. You can see quite a bit of a gap between them. Let's stay on board and see it from the eyes of Verstappen trying to chase down the P1. Oh, Radek Šula opting to not pit this lap. Trying to go longer on his stint and overcut Christoph Verstappen, who will now have to fight also for drivers that have not stopped yet, as they are not under blue flags and they are not going to be as easy to get by as the cars that are slower than you. As you can see currently, Emil Sieblom, he does not have to pull away out, although looks like he's not going to be fighting Christoph Verstappen and he would just compromise his own race. Sieblom just goes a little bit out of the racing line, letting Verstappen by, minding his own race that he is in. And we can see that everyone around Sieblom has already been in the pit lane, so he too is looking for a longer stint. Meanwhile, here's Michael Summer being chased by Bennett in the Ginetta, who already looks like has been in the pit lane. He easily gets by the Aston Martin driver into the double right-hander, a tricky corner where you are braking and turning at the same time. Meanwhile, looking at the demo plate, and we see a McLaren of Cobain. We've not seen much from McLarens in this event, currently being at the bottom of the Constructors Championship, beating only Maserati, who have for now been driven only by 2 drivers. From now, Maserati looks to have gained another 2 drivers, so maybe there will be chance for Maserati to climb up, maybe goodbye the McLaren brand. But it won't be an easy feat, but Martin Schaefer showing that the Maserati is a good car, constantly managing to be around the top 10 in past 2 races, finishing highly in the points. Currently, after his pit stop being in P17, trying to get by the McLaren of Kobe. And also ahead of him you can see the Mercedes of Aaron Heriday, Shimon Koutnik, and also Emma Plate was out of 5, and it looks like Martin Schaefer has managed to close down a little bit onto the pack that is in front of him, that are cars that are on track fighting with him. And Radek Šula still out, still trying to make the overcut work on Christoph Verstappen. As we see one of the Maseratis leaving the pit lane, so slotting down behind Christoph Verstappen. As more and more drivers are coming in, as the pit window is in its final 5 minutes. So we should see the rest of the grid being Šula, Lacey, Kluge, Barnet, and basically everyone between Šula and Verstappen in the pit lane. Currently here is Damien Wilk, who has been fighting with the Alpine of Jeff behind him all race long. Baguette race, on looking onto the Aston Martin in front of him, studying the lines off field, trying to look for an avenue by. You see him taking a tighter line through the left-hander, trying to get a little bit more speed, maybe a bit earlier, over his rival. This is the view from the back of the rear wing of Simon Bennett, looking on Audi of Tarantino behind him. More and more people are coming in. It's Senna Kruger. Oh, and we have a car that looks like an Alpine off the track. Look to be maybe Phil Warley. Down in. Maybe Phil Warley in the gravel, in the fast section back of the track, a tricky braking zone where the car can snap on you a little bit. But Tarantino has been getting closer to Bene in the past few laps. Looks like he has managed to find a little bit of pace over the Ginetta to try and get up into the top 15. Meanwhile, still no change at the lead. Christoph Verstappen still waiting for the pit stop from our leader, Radek Šula. But Simon Bennett looking to have made a little bit of gap in the corners over the Audi, in the Ginetta seeming to not hold as well, as a little bit aggressive on the gas pedal, sliding the car a little bit, and this will not help the tire wear. More and more people are finalizing their pit stop strategies. But Bennett will have to be fighting heavily, as he is Tarantino and Algeria both closing in, and looks like he will clinch in the Aston Martin. They'll be behind him very soon. through the tricky braking section we go. You can just see how much Algeria has closed down on Jacob Tarantino. Has a look into the final corner, tries to scare the Audi driver. Other Chevrolet looks to have a lot more ground on the start finish straight, and also Alexander Wiech is fighting with Kevin Shepherd. The Chevrolet having to look down inside the final corner as well, but it's not the braking zone. It would try to dive down the inside of someone. Let's see if we can get by. It doesn't look like he is gonna get by into the first corner. Then look on the finish of the fight between Tarantino and Algeria. It looks like Tarantino has picked up some damage on the right side of the car. Maybe a little bit of contact between both drivers. And it's on board of Sebastian Ternovic, who was closely behind, and we have a stop and go penalty for Daniel Barnett. The Audi driver has managed to probably speed in the pit lane, just getting a penalty, but more importantly, it's Stefan Kopnik fighting off with Emma Plate. It's going to land inside. There was a little bit of contact between the drivers, as it seems, and Emma Plate has spun. And yeah, Stefan Kopnik, you can see him slowing down, waiting for the Audi driver. A sign as I've made a mistake. He'll probably have to, not have to, he'll probably let him by. And this is what this circuit is about. It's full of opportunities for this kind of moves because of how the corners go. It's very easy to just leave your nose down inside of the corner you didn't want to. So there is Jacob Tarantino still defending from Algeria in the Chevrolet behind him. And it will have to be a good defense from Tarantino. There's also clinch in Aston Martin. He is closely behind, and also a penalty for Jack Lacey. That one is gonna hurt as well. Drivers have to manage to navigate the slower traffic of the Maserati. And another contact between Claudio Algeria and clinch in the Aston Martin. Algeria is sent spinning around onto the grass as he returns back onto the circuit. And this has lost him also position. No, he did not. I don't think it was not the car I was looking for. Oh, another spin. It's all blowing up at this part of the race. I was just tripping and over each other. You see the BMW going wide after fighting with the Alpine of Jeff. It looks to be Tarantovic. And drivers looking to throw the gloves away. It's full of boxing between them. You can see fights after fights. Just looking at Gianni Lenz trying to defend his position from Kevin Shepherd. Maserati being a car which can eat your tires. As you see, a little bit of mistake from Gianni Lenz going wide onto the back straight, giving an opportunity to the Porsche driver Shepherd on the inside, and he could say that he will have to move that, but he will have to hold it on the inside. And Gianni Lenz does not look like he's backing down from the outside line, and Shepherd tries in the braking zone. Gianni Lenz giving him space and taking a little bit more space off track, and this gives the opportunity to the Porsche, and there is a little bit of contact between them. Also the Porsche just turning in, and Gianni Lenz almost turning back into the driving path of the Porsche driver. Meanwhile, it's Alexander Wiech just laughing all the way to the bank. And Gianni Lenz has been robbed in the daylight, losing 3 positions in just for those 2-3 corners. There was a daylight robbery from Wiech, and Lenz. He will be angry after that change. Meanwhile, we can see Jack Lacey serving his 30-second stop and go penalty. It is dropping him way down. An unfortunate, but error you have to pay if you make the mistake in the pit lane. That's not where the track goes. My friend Lenz just is exploring. the wildlands of Italy. Maybe thinking about planting his own winery or something in the area after the race. We shall see how that goes. Meanwhile, no change at the top of the lead. Radek Šula still ahead of Christoph Verstappen, but now it's Samuel Kruger in third place after the penalty. It was handed out. Phil Wylie has managed to find himself in P5. The Alpine driver just out of nowhere, jumping up. After all the fighting that was going on between Koenig, Plate, Arriday and Kruger, Phil Wylie has managed to maybe also, by clever strategy, end up in 5th position. Also Martin Schaefer that jumped up into 6th place. Yeah. And also other drivers just finding themselves with all the contact and collisions between others. Samuel Bennett and Valentino finding themselves closely in 10th and 11th. Milan looking on Emma Plate with Simon Koenig behind him. Well, with a respectable gap. This is Sebastian Terentovic fighting off with Jeff, keeping his nose down inside the Terentovic fourth line, and this gives Jeff the line through the corner onto the big straight. He manages to go down inside, and the move is already done even before the braking zone has appeared. And now we see also Kevin Shepard behind both of the drivers in the Porsche. Terentovic may be looking for an opportunity to get back onto the Alpine, but it looks like he's too far, and Jeff should keep his position. Right, on the back straight, it doesn't look like Terentovic has enough speed, but he is closing, maybe looking for a dive into the right-hander. He's a bit too far, so doesn't manage to keep close enough to the Alpine through the corner to mount any dive down into the hairpin. He'll have to try and keep his 20th place from Kevin Shepard behind. Jumping up to Phil Wylie, negotiating the lap traffic, being one of the new Maseratis behind him. And a little bit of fight that is brewing here between Kai Banks, Claudio Algeria and Emil Sjöblom. Two Chevrolets and a BMW in a three-way fight. Claudio Algeria trying to get by his brand colleague. Be closely tucked down under the spoiler of Kai Banks. Looking down inside, but I don't think there is a position for him to be gained. But making himself known to Kai Banks. Although a little bit worse run through the second corner. Loses a little bit of time. But Kai Banks definitely is being under pressure as he goes wide in the braking zone. But he maybe can get good enough run onto the big straight so he can keep his position. Then Emil Silblum on looking onto these two and trying to pick up any scraps that are being left off by the two drivers. And Tarantino in Audi has been slowly creeping up and looking onto the brink of top 10. Simon Bennett being next of his targets. Audi is looking to be powerful on the straight compared to the Ginetta, and let's see if through these corners they might be enough to getting close by. Well, update with just 9 minutes remaining in the race 1. Nothing has changed between Radek Šrula and Christoph Verstappen. Both still just second, maybe 2, close behind each other. And following up Jakub Tarantino, trying to close down on Simon Bennett in the Ginetta. Going into the first corners, still not close enough to try and make a move, but closing the Ginetta down 10th by 10th. As we see a move, Kai Banks has been trying to defend his position from Algeria, but has not managed to do so, and thus losing the position. Algeria is trying to run away. Emil Silblum is trying to close up to Kai Banks through the two right-handers and onto the straight. Trying to slingshot himself out of the corner as Banks goes over the sausage curbs and gives him a little bit worse run. And the defense down the inside, Silblum tries to hang it around the outside. But no, we saw many drivers attempt to go around the outside through this corner, but it has never materialized in any position gain. Maybe Silblum can tap down the inside into the corner, but doesn't look like it. Simon Bennett, just look how much Tarantino has closed him down. Basically pushing him through these two corners, and Tarantino goes a little bit wide, but might get a better run through the next corner. But does not seem like to get enough overrun into the hairpin. Simon Bennett keeps his position for the time being. But how much longer can he sustain the pressure that is being put on him by Tarantino? It must be Alexander here on the start of the 20s in 21st position. This time Simon Quebec and Kevin Shepard fighting off for 22nd place. Ginetta holding off for dear life. You can see them all navigating a lot of traffic. Simon Quebec trying his best to hold off the car behind. While Gianni Lenz is being attacked by Federico Silva. Silva, who we saw in spin slightly wildly through the right hand in the first sector, making a race out of this. Simon Bennett all of for his 10th place. Jakub Tarantino going down to the outside, becoming the switchback, but seems like no point of that. Kevin Shepard has the position on him. We are looking on the onboard from James Lacey after his stop and go. We can see from what was 3rd place, he has been dropped down to 26th, so big loss from the Porsche driver. As in the leaderboard, we can see our first disqualification. That was Alpine driver, if I'm correct, but never than that, there is action going on. Simon Bennett trying to hold off Tarantino. Has the inside line into the final corner, but looks like Tarantino already has the move done and moves himself into the top 10. That is the P11 now for Simon Bennett, the Ginetta driver. Just a few minutes, there is a chance to mount a move and attack back on Tarantino, but Bennett will have to dig deep and push really hard to get his position back, but it looks like Tarantino is set to just drive away and not give any opportunities back to Simon Bennett. This will solidify 3 Audis in our top 10 together with 3 Mercedes, giving the German brands big presence at the top of the championship. But then it looks like he's not giving up, still keeping close to the Audi. But the Audi just seems to have a lot more power and straight line speed down the straights. And Jakub Tarantino should just be able to keep his position and maybe even pull away from the small Ginetta. Meanwhile, looks like the fight between Algeria Banks and Silon has calmed down. The drivers have respectable gaps between themselves. Bennett is hustling the Ginetta around. And what do we have here? Christoph Verstappen. I've been saying that he is closely matched to Radek Šula, and looks like Verstappen has managed to close down the leader, so we might be looking for a fight between the leaders in the tying stages of the race. He has been looking on to maybe get by Kai Banks in the Chevrolet, but it looks like a clinch behind him. It's found pace and is closing down onto the BMW driver. Maybe Sibylon, instead of attacking, will be looking for defense. Yes, also Alexander Viech defending from Simon Pitek and Kevin Shepard. There is a lap Mercedes ahead of them. Ooh, like an opportunistic dive from Pitek. Maybe trying to take advantage of the traffic and pressuring Viech in front of him, but out of the pressure, Kevin Shepard has managed to get a back line onto the Ginetta down the inside. But he tries to not push back from the attack. There is Simon Trebek being really close to Viech. But the straight line speed of the Chevrolet is something you have to take into account. And Simon Trebek in the Ginetta will have to think of something extraordinary, something uncommon, as we see Viech going a bit wide in the right left-hand hairpin. Trebek will have to capitalize on any opportunity that comes by, because it will not be easy to get by the Chevrolet down the straight, especially in the Ginetta, and also with the Chevrolet looming behind him. Meanwhile, we see a big thing. Christoph Verstappen, it looks like the gap that has been closed down. There was a little bit of help to Verstappen as he manages to get himself a drive-through penalty, and we saw one also from Phil Varley, the other Alpine driver. So big things at the top of our race. As you already saw, Jack Lacey having a stop and go, and now Christoph Verstappen getting his drive-through penalty, and also Javier Gaining, the other Chevrolet driver, who has managed to serve his drive-through. So again, a little bit anticlimactic finish to the fight between the leaders. Verstappen goes into the pit lane, but there was a big gap between him and Seymour Kruger, so let's see if Verstappen will maybe be able to hold on to his position even after the drive to penalty will be served. Simon Sibylon still trying to defend from clinch in Aston Martin, although goes wide. This gives clinch the opportunity onto the back straight. The clinch tucked down under the spoiler of the BMW driver. Looks like he has not managed to keep as close, but maybe for the next corners he will be able to mount the move. It's important to get a good run through this right, and maybe then you can dive down the inside. As the timer has stopped, we are on 0-0 and final lap, what seems like to be for our leader. And final opportunity for everyone else to make a move. Also Also, Emma Skiblum goes down Kai Banks, so three-way fight maybe between all of these drivers with the unit of Mad Al behind. So any mistake from these drivers might result in a big loss. Let's see, Emma Skiblum obviously hustled by Aston Martin. So maybe gets the best run onto the big straightaway through the corner. It looks like Mad Al is closely behind. Now going to the right hand side, maybe trying to dive down, but no, Fitzbedovic, Milovic, Alasadek Lynch just taking his line. As we saw, the BMW of Skiblum going wide. This gives Lynch the opportunities on the outside of the BMW driver, trying to hang on the wider part. As we see a little bit of contact between the drivers, and it gives Mad Al the opportunity to just slip by off of them. A robust defense from the Swede in the BMW. And he might be able to hold on around the outside of Mad Al. We saw Gianni Lenz trying to hold on the outside to these corners, but it's really hard in the cooperation of the driver that is fighting with you. And Mad Al has managed to hold on. Now he's trying any final fights. He's trying to do something down the inside, down the outside, but it is not possible for him. And meanwhile, Radek Shula has managed to hold on and takes the victory in this action-packed race 1. Here at Misano, Christopher Streppen, even with his drive-through penalty, has managed to keep his second place. It just shows how much pace he and Shula had to be able to go through the pit lane and still keep his position. We see Damian Wilk managing to finish in P4, in P17, even though the live standing gives P5. And that is the finish of our race 1. You don't want to be kept waiting for too long, as shortly after we are going for the sprint race 2. Just short 20-minute blast for all the drivers to finish out today's event. Cars are being lined up. 2.5 minutes for the 20-minute sprint. That will be our race 2. This time, no pit stops, just pure racing all the way to the end. Let's see if someone can repeat themselves or if someone can redeem their mistakes. Definitely people like Phil Varley after getting that penalty, and also James Lacey after getting the stop and go after he was basically not even fighting with anyone for the podium. Podium was just there to take, and he managed to throw it away. in the pit cycle, so maybe a little bit of redemption for him in this race. Just May 30, and we shall see who can get the better of others. Maybe Christopher Strepper will be looking at getting onto Redexula fast after the start. Then just keeping the lead for himself. As we are just 10 seconds away from the start of the formation corner that is ahead of us. Hopefully the drivers have managed to prepare everything for themselves. They're slowly rolling onto the start-finish straight. Look at the lights and prepare yourself. As the cars are moving and we are racing, and it's a good jump from Emil Sjöblom. You can see the BMW driver just jumping. Two cars will even be into the first corner. You see the chaos that is in the middle of the pack, and still a little bit of contact between the GT and the Alpine. Both of them managing to keep it all together. And a little bit of contact also between Aston Martin and the Chevrolet, which looks to be Javier Gaming. Here's now Alpine on the right hand side of him, managing to slip by. Trying on the inside of Simon Bennett. And here is Stepan Kotnik fighting off Daniel Barnett, who were really close between them, and Martin Schaefer has managed to jump up. Managed to jump out of those two into here Claudio Algueria with the back of the pack. And Christopher Streppen again managed to jump from third place up into second. He'll try to chase down Alexula maybe a little bit more strongly this time. Daniel Barnett trying to defend his P8 from Shimon Kotnik. They both have been jumped by the Maserati of Martin Schaefer. But Barnett not going to leave that as it is for now, and it's already get onto the back of Schaefer as we complete our first lap. Order being Shula, Streppen, Lacey, Eriday, Kruger, Blake, Schaefer, Barnett, Kotnik, and Varley for our top 10. Barnett already looking for an avenue past Maserati to confront Stepan Kotnik as he sees the fighting between the two drivers ahead of him. Small look down the inside from the Audi driver, but not close enough for any dive, and certainly not want to do anything ridiculous after also getting this penalty in the race before. Maybe he might be looking to at least finish the race in a good position as the pit window actually opens in this race. Again, 15 minutes before the drivers their strategy has received 2 cars. And they've been spun in the first sector. They're looking to collect themselves back onto the track. That's when Panko was being under attack from Barley. The Alpine driver going out to the outside of the fast right-handers at the back of the circuit, but I don't think he will be able to hang out in slots behind of the Mercedes driver. Now fighting is Ben Kobe, fighting off with Terentovic and Van Kamen. Van Kamen is one of the new entries to the championship and to the Maserati spot. Ben Kobe is looking onwards. 2 drivers ahead of him. And there's Phil Varley already into the pit lane as many drivers follow with him. Trying to maybe get into a clear air. Not getting his service out of the way, get into clean air and just do fast laps. As you see many drivers coming in, so some might just be stuck behind someone without the clean air advantage. We see Jeff and Alastair Clinch. Jeff going down the inside of Clinch, who has run a little bit wide through the double right-hander. Onto the straight we go, and Jeff looks to get the slingshot out of the corner, but what looks like a slingshot might have been oversteer as he gets passed by Gianni Lenz. As Jeff is down the inside and he tries to outbrake the Maserati. Not having the ABS or traction control, so it might be a bit harder for Gianni Lenz as they go into the top right. Let's see if Lenz can hang on to it, but he tries to back out. But Jeff, amidst all the backing around side, it might be an opportunity for Gianni Lenz to get onto him, get down inside, and get by. See on board, Lenz floating down. As you can see the weaving of the drivers, but meanwhile is the Chevrolet of Wiech trying to go down inside of Lenz. Lenz seeing the Chevrolet driver moving a little bit off the track. Now Lenz has the inside line for the next set of corners, but Wiech already has the move done. So Jeff, that was wild, braking on the outside of the track and then just cutting away down the inside. A little bit dangerous from the Alpine driver as he promptly takes out the pit sign. Something some drivers might not thank him for. This is a vital part of your points that you're looking for. You certainly don't want to miss your braking point, as you already see Ariola and Burley having penalties with the drive through and stop and go. And Matt Silblom is trying an interesting line for the final corner, just going to the left-hand side like he was going to the pit lane, but deciding last minute that he doesn't want to. An interesting decision-making from Silblom. But already Ariola managed to get a drive-through penalty afterwards, maybe 3 laps of racing. So really bad start to the race for the Alpine driver, and also Burley getting a stop and go, so might be one of the victims of the pit lane. As you see, Mats Silblom struggling a little bit with the Maserati. It is not easy car to just pick up and drive without any of the safety systems of the traction and the ABS. It's really your legs are your best assistance for this car. But I've heard from drivers that it is not a bad car in itself. It can be quite fun if you know how to drive. But if you're new to the game, it might be something you should avoid, just so that you can learn how it works. All the others. And also we can see Matt Sama getting stop and go. So another victim of the pit speed limiter. And meanwhile, Matt Silblom being on the attack from Damien Wilk, just easily breezing by in the right-hand complex. Silblom not putting up a fight, maybe knowing that it's not his fight that he is fighting here. He's trying to find his footing in the car and in the championship. Tarantino, who has been great in the previous race, fighting amidst the top 10 or only on the outskirts of the top 10 and maybe a little bit inside of it. Stefan Kotnik already after his pit stop. Let's be down in P19 or P17. Taking an early stop while trying to put in the fast laps. With Gianni Lenz, Simon Trebek and Kevin Shepard, we saw these three at the end of last race fighting for positions, and it did not end up really well for Gianni Lenz. This time it looks like he is managing his race a little bit better. Here's Jeff, closely behind Pierre. The brown, orangey and black Alpine going down in time of the Chevrolet driver. Running him really wide, and this allows Tarantino into the fight as he looks from the rear wing. Jeff on the left side, Tarantino on the right side, both trying to fight Jeff and each other at the same time. Tarantino getting the switch back, but not managing to get the power down earlier. He just got behind the Chevrolet driver, and the Audi we saw it having a quite potent engine. Being able to get really close on the straights to his opponents. Tarantino choosing to just lay back, stay behind and see if opportunity comes. He has a slightly better line. Fox is now down inside of Viech, but they're not giving him space Tarantino needs for the move. We're going to the final corners, and Tarantino not being able to mount the charge, but might be looking for a move very soon. So looking at Martin Schaefer, currently actually pulling away from Daniel Barnett. So after the start, and Barnett losing position to Schaefer, he might have been looking at getting closer, but Schaefer is doing good and consistent laps, which is really big help to him. Managing to keep it ahead of the Audi driver. Meanwhile, other Audi driver is looking to get by his rival. Still Tarantino closely behind Viech, but currently being a bit too far for this braking zone. Maybe Viech will be able to keep his position and mount and attack back onto the Alpine in front of him. My voice is starting to kill me this time. This is when you don't have anything to drink with you for commentary. Jonas, the owner, there is a problem for Simon Trebek. It's like the pit entry is blocked. Trebek hitting the back of the owner, and we can see him just trying to back up as fast as he can into the pit lane, so he is not blocking. He definitely not want to be driving in a wrong way on the pit lane entry, and that is not one for the highlights. Trebek just having to somehow get his car into the pit lane so he can turn it around. Thankfully, he did not have Austin Powers moment and managed to get his car away from any kind of trouble. And this time probably will have it pointing in the correct direction. Meanwhile, Phil Vardy close down to Shimon Kotnik after both of them have made their pit stops. Vardy being one of the first cars to go into the pit lane at the very start of the pit window. And also somehow finding himself up in the top 10, so maybe a little bit of magic also in this race. The fight continues between Viech and Tarantino, holding the inside line like it's the knowledge of the entire universe. Meanwhile, Nigel Earl is on a sightseeing journey, looking over the natural and local fauna of the Italy and this region. But Ben Kobe has a little bit more problems on his hand than the flowers and ants, as he's being chased by BMW of Terentovic, who has managed to make the move and get by. Esteban Ocon cutting a bit over the grass, nothing major, whilst trying to defend himself from Phil Varley, and Alpine looks to have the pace over Kotnik. both fights are just brewing and brewing, and maybe something delicious will be done from these ingredients. Tarantino still looming closely behind Alexander Wiech and also Alistair Lynch. On looking to this very slowly pulling himself closer to this trio. You see more and more cars exiting the pit lane. Meanwhile, the pit cycle, Gianni Lenz has managed to find himself in P8. Enjoy the spotlight, mates, as long as you can. Those who know, they know what do I mean by that. Meanwhile, Tarantino, a little bit better exit out of the left-hander. It looks like the Audi and the Chevrolet are really closely matched. Both of them are really good cars in a straight line as Lynch tries to use all of the track and even a little bit more in the braking zone. He managed to go down the inside of Tarantino, but was not able to get any power down on exit of the corner. But this is what the Wiech will be looking at and hoping that Lynch is just going to fight Tarantino a little bit more so he can focus on Alpine and the road that is in front of him. But again, the Audi has pulled the gap onto the Aston Martin on the straight, so if you consider this straight, it is a little bit more broken, but aren't real broken inside of us. Moments of philosophy sponsored by Racer. Meanwhile, Simon Bennett, far in the grid, far away. Currently in P27, defending from the Porsche behind him, and then looking onto the fight that is ahead of him between Mad Al and Van Kamen. You can hear the anger from the Maserati all the way to here. Barley trying to find a way past Kotnik as he gets a better run. You can see Kotnik dodging into the inside of the next corner. Barley having no speed to go around the outside. He tries to brake a bit late and maybe get a switch back onto the Mercedes driver. It looks like Kotnik has a little wiggle. The car wiggles a little bit mid-corner. But Barley does not seem like he has any easy avenue past the Mercedes driver. They will be looking and looking. But Kotnik is driving really well, very calmly, not making any major mistakes that would allow the Alpine to get by. Meanwhile, Big Four are getting closer and closer. Jeff not being able to pull away from Wiech after he's been passed. More like Wiech is actually brought him down in the last lap or two. To the hairpin, maybe a move, but none of them being close enough to have any sort of dive down the inside of each other. It's been fighting for what is P15, still very low conditions at the high end of the grid. Even though it's final minute, if you have not done your stop, you better do it now, because there won't be any other chance for you. With just 3 minutes left in this sprint race, it has been a blast from the past. Next, at the back of Jeff, probably will know the back of the Alpine really well after this race, as Jeff is defending from the Chevrolet. Might be picking a little bit compromised line for the next set of corners. And there is one unfortunate moment again at the top of the grid. Emma Plate getting himself a stop and go 30-second penalty. And there is not much happiness between the Audi drivers today. There have been lots of unfortunate moments for the mark in this race. But a little bit of fortune maybe is what Tarantino needs, as he's still looking onto the back of Chevrolet that is in front of him. He's still keeping his position, but there is the fighting Dayton Wilk and Daniel Barnet. going side by side through this set of corners. Barnett is on the inside of the braking zone. There is a little bit of contact between him and Damien Wilk, and Wilk goes wildly off the track. This will lose him a big bunch of positions. If you look to not have noticed that Barnett was on the inside of him. This will also be one for the stewards, but it looked to me like a racing incident where Travis did not notice that they were side by side, or he did not expect Barnett to go down inside of that corner. Meanwhile, also in the Cielo and Javier again looking for a fight. And on the back end of the top 10, what will be probably a 10th place. Depending if, there's another car, there's Alpine just running wide and might be badly. So that probably was a black car. But it will be one of the small problems that there are cars all over the place. There are more cars on the track than are on the track. I think that was actually Daniel Barnett in the Audi. Spinning away again, his position going down and down. Alastair Clinch is trying to get by Jacob Tarantino, but he also has his brand mates, Damien Wilk, behind him. What do you do now? Do you defend from your teammate or do you try to attack? It looks like it will be more of a defense from Alastair Clinch than attack. Also Gianni Lenz, wild Chevrolet behind him, but Maserati going wild as Sedena is fighting on the outside, but it's Algeria who manages to capitalize on the opportunity and gets by the Porsche driver. With just a few seconds remaining, what could be the final lap, Claudio Algeria under the spoiler, almost pushing Gianni Lenz into the section. And no, guys, we are not going to rewind. We are not going to rewind for this section. Lenz uses all of the asphalt available just to survive this moment. It's barely good enough to go too wide through the section, but not rewind. That's definitely from those things. But I guess if you're at the back of the track, you need to get something going for yourself. Meanwhile, we are still behind Jeff, still looking onto the Alpine and not finding any way past. But maybe on what is the final lap, also Javier Gani and Silva fighting with each other, Stefan Coty, Silvari Valley going to the outside, but you can't do it on this corner, but maybe no, there is just not enough of the grip in these cars to be able to come around the outside of that kind of corner. Barley still has the outside line for another corner. There is a little bit of contact between the three of them. De Leon is spinning around after being hit by Algeria. Algeria kindly waiting for De Leon to get back on the track. And this gives Gianni Lenz a little bit of breathing room for his troubles. But we are looking back, here's Ben Coubet trying to fight off Ariona in the Alpine and looking also at Simon Trebek in the Ginetta that is ahead of him. Ben Coubet looks like to be the sole McLaren driver here for this event. It looks like we have already finished this manic race. With all the fighting going on all around the circuit, Jeff trying to keep his 12th place. Goes into the final corner ahead of Alexander Viech. Final corner, Viech looks to have a look, but not. I think there is enough of a race for him as they finish the race. So it is again Radek Šula just dominating in this series, showing everyone how it's done, winning also the sprint race in Misano. Christopher Streppen finishing in second place. But boy oh boy, Radek Šula is making that lead at the top bigger and bigger. Jack Lacey finishing in third place, rounding out our podium. Oh boy, what a race this was, what an event. As Simon Trebek goes wildly over the start-finish line. Oh, this was a great race. I will try to get maybe someone from the race. Let's get our race winner into the commentator's booth and see what he has to say about what has happened. Radek Shula, our winner for this event, both races. Radek, can you hear me? Okay, that does not seem to be any connection established between. Christoph, 2 races closely behind Radek Shula. Is there a connection between us?
Hey, mate. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question, mate.
It looked like you were almost in a fight for the lead at the end of the final race, but the penalty came in. How are these races from your point of view?
I really enjoyed actually. At first, Radek was pulling away, but maybe the Camaro was a little bit better on tires, and I managed to come back at the end. But then I had 2 track warnings, I guess. But then I crossed a little bit too much of the track and instant drive through there, and that was my chance to victory gone.
But we also saw you starting both races from the second row, and at both of the starts you managed to get closely to Shula and get past all drivers. Is it something of a Chevrolet or just the reaction you had?
I think it's the acceleration of the Camaro. I was gaining also every straight 2/10 on Shula, so I think it has a little bit better acceleration than the Merc.
But we are already 3 events down, and Radek Shula seems to be commanding at the top of the lead. Do you think there is a chance you or anyone can get on top of him and maybe dislodge him from the P1 that he is currently?
We got to step up our game, that's for sure. He got a nice lead now, so he can just lean back and enjoy the racing.
All right, this was Christopher Streppen from the McLeod Racing team, and thank you for the interview, and see you on the track at the next event.
Thank you guys, great racing. Bye-bye.
So that was our second place. As you heard from him, everyone will need to step up their game to get on to Radek Shula, who just seems to be dialed down with the Mercedes. So I am inviting you to the RWB International. Join us for the next race. Join our Discord, RWB International, if you want to be part of this championship. And I would like to thank you for watching this amazing race. And I'm also inviting you to come back and watch again in a week's time for our 4th round of Constructors Championship. It was a pleasure commentating. It's Racer Soul from RWB International. Goodbye.